The Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders is a program of the U.S. Department of State with funding provided by the U.S. government and administered by the International Research and Exchanges Board. Established in 2014, the fellowship is celebrating its 10th anniversary in 2024 and has brought many young leaders from every country in sub-Saharan Africa to the United States for academic and leadership training. In this special episode of the book series, I called 4 Mandela Washington Fellows from Zimbabwe. Enjoy the show. Good morning to you all, our viewers and listeners living and working in different parts of the world. I'm happy today to be joined by the Mandela Washington Fellows for the year 2024. These are fellows from Zimbabwe. There are several other fellows that were selected from African countries, and there are also other fellows that were selected from Zimbabwe who could not make it to this particular episode, but we're going to cover them in the next episodes that we are going to be discussing about the Mandela Washington Fellowship. So we want to know about these programs, and we want to know the stories of all these fellows that were selected so that it can benefit our audience and any of those people that might be interested in also applying for the Mandela Washington Fellowship in the next application cycle. So to start our roundtable conversation, I'm going to invite first the fellows from what is called the Presidential Precinct. Is also under the Mandela Washington Fellowship. So I'm going to hear from Prince Mupindu, Prince Taff Mupindu. So Prince, this is your time.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful opportunity. My name is Prince Taff Mupindu, and I come from Goromonzi Road District in Zimbabwe. I was fortunate to be selected as one of the 700 fellows for this year's Mandela Washington Fellowship. And basically, the Mandela Washington Fellowship focuses on 3 main tracks, that is civic leadership, business leadership, as well as those dealing in public management. So specifically, I was selected to be part of the civic leadership, and I was placed at the institution of the Presidential Precinct. So basically, the Presidential Precinct is a consortium of different institutions that encompass the university, the College of William and Mary, and also there is what they will call the James Madson, Montpellier, Thomas Jefferson's Highlands, as well as the University of Virginia. So during the fellowship, we began at William and Mary, and currently we are at James Madson Montpellier, which is also another historical site of American history. So I was just explaining that so that maybe you understand that. And also it has produced around 3 to 4 presidents in the American history. That's, I think, the name Presidential Precinct. So being selected from Zimbabwe is also presents a brilliant opportunity, not only for me, but for the community in which I represent. The nature of my work back in Zimbabwe has been around issues dealing with public finance management. That has been my area of work, amongst other things. So I've been working voluntarily within many organizations as well as within my community on issues to do with public finance management. So by public finance management, we're basically referring to the section of Zimbabwe in the Constitution, section 298, which is promoting issues of transparency and accountability when dealing with mainly local budget issues as well as central budget issues. So I work within the Goromonzi context as well as across other regions in Zimbabwe, but I was primarily focused in my community area, amplifying citizen agency when it comes to issues of budget. So we reach out to communities we reach out to the marginalized communities, especially the less privileged communities. We go there, we make networks, and we also have these community indabas in which citizens come and converge, be it a community or a community space. And we make sure also that the local authority, especially the councillor, and if possible, the member of parliament are present prior the budget commences. So this is more like pre-budget strategy involvement of citizens. So this is the nature of my work that I've been conducting over the last 5 to 6 years within Zimbabwe. I've also been working with the organization of Zimbabwe Coalition on Data and Development, ZimCode, on the same field also as a community resource mobilizing agent. And also I've been part of the Harare Residents Alliance, which is a resident initiative based in the capital of Harare, amplifying again matters of public finance management at local level. So the broad theme of my work is encapsulated in section 264 subsection B of the Zimbabwean constitutions, which states that communities have the right to manage their own affairs. So I'm just giving you a bit of a background so that you understand where I'm coming from. So yes, being fortunate, yes, I say fortunate because, you know, the Mandela Washington Fellowship is a highly competitive program, and being here, I feel like I must say that I represent a lot of voices. I represent a lot of communities back home because there will always be stiff competition. But I thank God that I'm here, and I must also utilize this opportunity, not only for me, but for the broader community back home. So being placed here at the presidential precinct, coming to the university and the College of William and Mary has been a life-changing journey. I must say, first and foremost, it has been intense because the schedules and the programs, yeah, they just come one after another. And as you're aware, here in the parts of America, it's summertime. We are not accustomed with the sun setting around 9 p.m. So you actually feel like it's still in the afternoon, but then it will actually be night. So it has been, yeah, that transition. Some call it jet lag, but then the transition has also been quite unique in terms of adaptability. So being at the institution of William and Mary has been life-changing in that we have been initiated into a program of leadership training. So this leadership training is quite diverse and it's not limited to any specific field. For example, we had to go through sessions of design thinking. And in this design thinking, you know, these are elements and themes that maybe in Zimbabwe I had learned about, but being here in this institution has also made me learn from a broader scope, from a very wide range of thought, because the lectures here, some of them, most of them are professors, some of them are doctors from various departments. So we learn about entrepreneurship, we learn about design thinking, and we're also learning from a broad range of ideas. And the biggest thing for me at the beginning of the fellowship and at William and Mary has been the convergence of the African youth. Because at each campus, like at our campus, we are 25 of us. There are 3 Zimbabweans here, but the rest of the guys come from different parts of the continent. So the knowledge sharing, experience sharing has been quite enriching because I've had to learn from the different aspects of Africa. I've had to learn about what has been happening, like from Togo. I've been learning about what has been happening in South Africa, as well as the central part of Africa. So apart from me coming with my own rural experience from Goromonzi, I've had to learn also about what they are doing and how leadership is being groomed from parts of Tanzania, as well as South Africa and more parts of Africa. So that on itself is enriched my experience. It has sharpened my view, and it has made me realize the opportunity that lie on the other part of the world. So coming to this institution, the biggest relationship that I've established between my constituency and this place has been along the channels of value addition. I'll give you a very practical example. From my community in Goromonzi Rural District, we recently discovered that there are lithium deposits within the community of Goromonzi Rural District. So as I landed at the airport at Atlanta, I was asking myself, how best then do I utilize and add value on the little resources my community have. And, the ideas that have been coming from this initiative, like I'm actually working on a project that deals on reaching out to community through community podcasts, but mainly dealing also with issues of domestic resource mobilization. It will be fun for us to realize that in as much as there's lithium in Gurumonzi Rural District, maybe the final and end product of it is actually realized in other states, like in the parts of Europe and Asia as well as America, but without the people of my community actually benefiting. So in terms of beneficiation and value addition, I have to learn about how best can my own local community benefit from such initiatives. And as I say, it's a long-term process, but I can see that on the short term, there are already high prospects of improving the local communities where I come from. So from the University of College of William and Mary, we shifted a few days ago, and we are at a place where I think the fourth president of American history, who is deemed to be the father of American Constitution, had this plantation and had this place and had this village here at a place called Montpelier. Yeah, so Montpelier is rather in between Charlottesville and the greater part of Virginia, where we come from. So at this place, we're learning more about the constitutional making history of the American peoples, the global world, but relating it on how it has impacted on the making of constitutions within Africa. And also, notwithstanding, not shying away from the fact that at this very place is also something emotional, is also something of African history that touches on my part as a Pan-Africanist. Why am I saying that? Because I have also go through the history of slavery. Here in this specific village of Montpelier, where James Madson was, is where slavery took place, like, at a large scale. So in a way, the buildings and the development that I see here are also reminiscent of the parts that has been played by the people of African origin, that has been played by the brothers and sisters who crossed the Atlantic, not as I did via air, but through the waters of chains, chained here. So yes, this is 300, 400 years later. It's a matter of reflection. So we have to go through that. There are historical monuments here, but also learning from that. And then how best then do we place ourselves and say, how best do we collaborate? How best do we network? How best do we maximize and utilize this opportunity? I think that is where I want to end my discussion in saying that the Mandela Washington Fellowship, for me, is a broad network that connects the very community where I come from, that even connects the very community from different parts of Africa, as I said before, people from Arusha, people from Shashamane in Ethiopia. I've had to relate with my brothers and sisters, day in, day out, and hear these stories, not from a theoretical perspective, but from practical experience, of shared experience. I was talking to my sister here who come from Sudan, and she was sharing with me some stories about what is actually happening in the Sahel region, as well as in Khartoum, in terms of the division of Africa. This is just one case study that I was reading about a lot. But now that I've come to interact with these individuals in person and in practical, it has made me realize the position where we lie, not only as Zimbabwe, but as Africa, importantly. So in a nutshell, my brother, I would like to say that the collective output of this is more of the African mind, reshaping the African narrative. It has been a while that Africa, we've been tainting it in this black brush, saying sad stories about Africa, but this is also an opportunity that we see the potential that Africa actually has, not only in terms of resource, but in its leadership. And the people present at this fellowship present the greatest hope, not only of the future, but of the present. I thank you.
That's nice, Mr. Prince. Thank you so much for those submissions.